All right, what is up, all you beautiful people? It is I, Akemitcg, collabing with
Team COG here.
COG. Yeah. What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
It's just really hot here, so I'm just sweating while making this.
Oh man, I hear you. Your lab's upstairs, isn't it?
Yeah, it's upstairs in an attic, and even with the AC on, there's just so much rug and poor insulation that it's either way too hot or way too cold.
Yeah, I understand that. My lab's upstairs too, and it's just, you know, the higher the sun rises, the hotter it gets.
Oh yeah, that's why you gotta like make videos either super early in the morning or super late at night. There's no in between.
Yeah, otherwise you may or may not have a heat stroke.
Oh yeah,
But,
that's happened before.
For the most part, I saw that you, on watch your recent vlog, I saw that you ended up getting first place with your Rikka fairies, and I guess in a format dominated by Eldritch and Emancipator, I was like, this is like the third deck that came out with them that no one kind of even put eyes on, but you did. And I thought we'd get your profile and your input and just ask some questions and go with it.
Sure. So, with Rikka fairies, the reason why I picked up this deck, as you can already see, it's already not really that budget, to be honest, because you know I'm playing triple Nibiru, lightning storms, and all that good stuff. So, playing Eldritch or Emancipator could have been a choice for me, but personally, I'm a rogue, kind of almost anti-meta kind of player, and this deck really interests me, and I just want to walk through it and just show you guys the power of the Rikkas and plant monsters in general.
Of course, of course. So yeah, just go ahead and start us out with your list, and just I'll ask any questions when we go along the way.
Sure. So I started off with Elemental Hero Neos and Rainbow Dragon. The reason why I played the Rainbow's Neos package, Neos, Rainbow Dragon, Neos Fusion. If y'all don't know what Rainbow Neos does, is it has 3 effects, okay? You can either A, send one monster you control to the graveyard, shuffle all monsters your opponent controls back into the deck, just completely drowning Mirror Force all their monsters. Or send a spell or trap card you control to the graveyard, then shuffle all spells and traps back into their deck. Or send one card from the top of your deck to the graveyard. This is my favorite effect, okay? Shuffle all cards in your opponent's graveyard back into the deck.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of versatility with this card, and it's amazing.
And you practically get to make the Verde Anaconda for free, it seems.
With Verte, it's also a plant, so there is some synergy with the cards that I'll go through afterwards as well.
That is crazy.
This card has won me so many duels, because one of the biggest problems with this deck is it's kind of hard to break boards, hence is why I play the Impermanent Evenlies, but I'll get into that afterwards.
So would you think about, like, once we finally get a Dragoon, would you play Dragoon? Would you replace this with the Dragoon, or would you still play Rainbow Neos?
With Dragoon, personally, this is a very unpopular opinion, okay? Team COG, but I'm not going to play the Red Eyes Fusion. And I'm going to stick with the Neos Fusion package, and the reason why I'm doing this is because Red Eyes Fusion as a spell card locks you in to only summoning that Red Eyes Dragoon. That's the only thing you summon. But with Neos Fusion, there's no restriction like that. Neos, the only restriction is you can only special summon that Rainbow Neos at the end of the turn. I mean, for the rest of the turn.
So it's just the last
thing you do. So you have more flexibility. Yeah, it's the last thing you do, as opposed to if you play Red Eyes Fusion, that's the only thing you do. Does that make sense?
That does. I like it. Rebel.
Yeah.
Rebel against the meta.
But arguably, Red Eyes Fusion is just better because Dragoon or Red Eyes is just an insane card. You, again, are still playing 2 bricks, which would be the Red Eyes and the Dark Magician, but instead I'm playing the Neos and the Rainbow Dragon. It's completely up to preference, but I just find that this card is just very versatile compared to Red Eyes Fusion, especially for this particular deck.
All right, okay. Makes sense to me. Now it looks like next you have these boss monsters.
Oh boy. So I'm playing 1 Har and 1 Mardell. Mardell's obviously has synergy with the deck. Mardell lets you add a generated card or any plant from your deck to your hand. So since I'm playing Rikkas, there's all these targets. Literally all of these are targets. You usually never want to add Har, but it says generated card, not generate a monster. So you can technically add generate a boss stage or generate a boss fight to your hand, depending on what you prefer. Most of the time with Mardell, you basically summon Mardell off of Lone Fire, which is super easy to summon in this deck, or Snowdrop. Get your generate a boss stage, and you would end on a Teardrop, which lets you quick effect tribute a monster in your opponent's turn. And with boss stage, you're going to have Horror on the field, so you have like a mini Dragoon of Red Eyes as well. And also you have a whole bunch of tokens, which can distill some fear into your opponent's deck, especially if you have a whole bunch of traps in the back row as well.
That's just crazy. So have you ever had an issue? So like essentially, if you open Mardell, is there like does Lone Fire summon from the hand or anything like that, or is Mardell kind of like a brick in the hand, or?
So, what Snowdrop does is you can tribute any plant monster on the field, on your side of the field, obviously. Special summon both this card and one other plant from your hand.
What?
Doesn't matter what level it is. So, basically, the 1-2 punch is Rikka Petal. Rikka Petal is a Stratos for the deck, except it's not on summon, it's just during the main phase. You get to add any Rikka from your deck to your hand, or from the deck to the graveyard. So you summon Petal. Let's say you have Mardell in hand, okay? You summon Petal, get Snowdrop, and you have Mardell in hand. You tribute that Petal for cost with Snowdrop summoning effects, and then you summon both Snowdrop and Mardell at the same time, and then Mardell will trigger. And the second half of Snowdrop, which makes the deck dummy good, is you can target any plant monster you control. All of your plant monsters currently on the field, besides Lynx obviously, and Xyz, become that plant monster's level until the end of the turn.
Wow. You had me at the first effect. You just tribute one plant monster, then you special 2 from your hand. So essentially, Mardell's not even really a brick in your hand.
Yeah, I mean, like, with the amount of high-level monsters I play like 10, but out of 43 cards, that's the reason why I push it past 40. There's a less chance of me bricking if I'm playing more cards. But there is a chance that can brick, but it has a lot of starters, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In the tournament I played last week, I only fully bricked once, where like literally I couldn't play anything. For the rest of the times, I didn't brick at all. Just to give you an idea, it's very similar to Crusadia in the sense that you can get a lot of brick hands, and they do happen at unfortunate times, but that's the nature of every deck. Like if a deck didn't brick, it'd be tier 0. That's just how it is.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of fallback. Otherwise, yeah, every deck would be tier 0 if they didn't have problems with consistency or bricking. So that's just awesome. So essentially, out of your 43 card deck, from what I can tell, just what you told me, the first 4 cards is there's only essentially 3 bricks in the. Wow, 3 bricks in the deck.
Yes, and I'll get into what the rest of the Rikkas do, so you have a sense of what they do. So Hellbore, it's kind of niche. I might be taking this out, but as of right now, I like it a lot. When your opponent activates a monster effect that targets any monster you control, doesn't have to be a plant, while you control a Rikka monster. Quick effect, you can tribute this card from your hand or face up on the field, negate that effect.
So you have
your opponent activates
a monster and effect negation. Yes. That is cool.
Only on targeting though, so like Dingirsu is out of the question, but it does come up. And it has a second effect where if this card is in your graveyard, hence is why sometimes you want to pedal and put stuff into the graveyard, you can tribute one plant monster to special summon this card in defense. So if for whatever reason they effect Veiler your Snowdrop and you have another plant on the field and this happens to be in the graveyard, you can tribute your other plant monster to summon Hellbore back.
Okay. That seems to make sense to me. All right.
It gets banished if it leaves the field, but obviously if you exceed with it, it does not get banished because it's technically not leaving the field, which is great.
Gotta love those mechanics. All right. So this is like...
Erica is going to be your... yes.
This is like my first time ever actually fully reading these guys, and kind of like... their effects are quite nuts. It's quite a shame that no one else kind of picked up on how good they were.
Yeah, and they're also waters too, where the synergy with water cards, such as Salvage. You play Salvage, you use Snowdrop and Mudan. Oh man, wait till you see Mudan, okay? They're both under 1500 attack, so once you use Salvage, you can grab both of these off of one card.
Wow.
So next card is going to be Erica. This card is sick, okay? If an attack is declared involving another plant monster you control, tribute this card from your hand or face up on the field. That monster you control gains 1,000 attack and defense until the end of the turn. Not bad, right?
No, not at all. Just kind of reminds me of the vampire card, Frolin, except for, you know, Rikka Fairy style.
Oh yeah. And this has a 6-second effect, okay? If a monster, the plant monster you control is tributed while this card is in your graveyard, except during damage step, obviously, you can special summon this card in defense position, but banish it when it leaves the field.
So it just... Now wait a minute, it has like... When attack... You see, you contribute this card. So it allows you to boost, and then since your deck tributes everything, it just gets to come back for free again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You can use both of its effects on the same turn.
Wow,
yes.
that's free real estate right there.
Yeah, the only problem is it's a level 6, so that's why I only play one. If it was a lower level, like let's say level 4, like Honest, that'd be really good.
Oh yeah, and then like you said, the main fairy, the Rikka, the yellow one. You said you said that one. Snowdrop just essentially allows you to special it from the hand and make them all level 8s, right?
Yep, or level 8s or whatever level you want them to be. So let's say like you summon Snowdrop and Mudan, you can target your Erica, and then your Snowdrop becomes a level 6. Then you can make your rank 6.
Oh wow, utility. Okay.
The only caveat is if you use Snowdrop or Petal's first effect, you're gonna flip out when you read Petal, by the way. If you use either their first effects, which is Snowdrop lets you tribute a plant monster to special summon 2 plants, and Rikka Petal lets you search. If you use either of their first effects, you're locked into plants for the rest of the turn. But I'm gonna explain Dingirsu and True King in like the next 5-10 minutes.
So from just glancing at your extra deck, outside of Rainbow Neos and the True King and Dingirsu, it looks like a majority of your extra deck is plant. So that doesn't seem like that restriction really truly restricts you.
Yeah, if there was no restriction, I guarantee you this deck would be meta. I guarantee you. Because you can make stuff like Volcasaurus. I'm pretty sure you could mix it with Cyber Dragons to make Infinity somehow. You can play the rank 8 package with Lancelot and the Photon Dragons. If this was generic and you didn't get locked into plans, this deck would guarantee it would be meta.
That's crazy. Okay, yeah, so let's go ahead and keep moving on then.
Mudan. So this card, you can distribute any plant monster, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal summon or special summon, so even if you distribute your monster, maybe you're locked into Vanity's Fiendlock or whatever, you can add 1 Rikka spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. And let me just glance over what the Rikka spells and traps do. Rikka Glamour, Rikka Flurries, Rikka Tranquility, and Rikka Sheets. All of these Rikkas are very, very interesting in terms of the spells and traps. All of them, besides Flurries, has a cost activation. So all of them, the first cost says, when you activate this card, you can also tribute 1 plant monster. So on activation, you can choose to tribute a plant monster or not. If you choose to tribute it, you get a major plus. If not, then you still get in effect. Rikka Glamour is the Elemental Hero emergency call for the deck. It lets you add a Rikka monster from your deck to your hand. But if you also tribute a monster when you activate this card, you can add 1 plant monster with the same original level as that Rikka monster, but a different name from your deck to your hand. If that sounds a little bit tricky, let's say you play Rikka Glamour, okay? You add Rikka Petal, but you also tributed a plant monster. Since you added Rikka Petal, you can also choose to add any other plant monster that's level 1 from your deck to your hand. So you can Glamour, tribute a plant monster, add Petal and Evil Thorn from your deck to your hand.
So it's a +1,
Snowdrop.
right? Oh no, it's a break even.
Yeah, it's a break even. It's only a plus when you see Petal's recursion effect. I tend not to tribute it, but all of these Rikka cards go very well hand in hand with Rikka Flurries. And this is probably one of the most insane cards in this deck, and for some reason, a lot of people don't run this card at all. If a Rikka monster you control is tributed, you can make your opponent tribute one monster they control, their choice. As in, if they have a face-up card on the field, a monster that says it's unaffected by opponent's card effects, it will still get tributed.
Yeah, because
Why?
it's the opponent.
Because it says you make your opponent's tribute. So I took someone's Makaba. No, I didn't take the Makaba. I took their Boros Sword, and then they had to tribute their own Makaba because it was the only monster they controlled left.
That is crazy. So essentially, flurries is just kind of, it forces your opponent to get rid of one of their monsters because you tributed, which your entire deck's gimmick is tributing. So that again, that's just like free real estate, kinda. I guess.
Yeah, kind of.
Free home demolition.
Also has synergy with, let's say, right, and it will break boards with, let's say, like Mudon, you're tributing a plant monster. Erica, you're tributing. It actually says tribute from your hand or face up field, so that works. Snowdrop tributes. Hellboard tributes from the graveyard. So you can see like the synergy, right?
Yeah, like that's crazy to think that you just practically make your opponent get rid of a card for your deck doing just what it does.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy good.
So
okay.
The 2 trap cards are nutty, okay? So you can see why Mudon's so good, right? Because all these cards are just really good. Tranquility says you can... So same thing, you can also tribute a plant monster. Special summon 1 Rikka monster from your graveyard in defense position. And then, if you tributed a monster when you activate this card, special summon 1 plant monsters in your graveyard in defense position. Notice that it does not negate that monster's effects when you do so. So let's say you have Teardrop and you have this card set. You've already used Teardrop's effect and your opponent's going to attack into your Teardrop. You can activate Tranquility, tribute your Teardrop, and then summon, let's say, like Snowdrop and let's say Mardell. Since you summon Mardell off of it, you get to add a generated card or another plant monster, so you plus off of that. And now your opponent has to deal with 2 walls on the field. Or you can lock them into summoning, let's say, like Snowdrop and Lonefire. Now your opponent has to choose. Do they want to deal with a Dingirsu or potentially a True King next turn? Or let me summon any plant monster from my deck? They have to make a choice.
Well, you know what's quite funny is they probably don't even know that your deck can make Dingirsu or True King, so they're thinking they probably don't have to deal with anything, and then you smack these 2 boys down and they're like, wait a minute, what? Nani?
Exactly, and it's a big surprise factor. And you also +1, like, it's great.
Oh yeah, that's Alright, so I see that after Mudon we have a few more cards I don't even recognize.
We have one more trap card.
Oh yes, go ahead. Let's go ahead and get them.
This is gonna blow your mind. Rikka Sheet, okay? Target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Then you can also tribute a plant monster. Players cannot activate that face-up monster's effect on the field this turn at all. They can't even activate it, like not even for cost. They can't activate it. So it's like kind of like a mini imperm, except it doesn't negate the effects. It just negates stuff that do once return clauses, but this is gonna be nuts. If you tributed a monster when you activate this card, take control of that monster until the end phase, and if you do, it becomes a plant monster.
So I know I've been saying this, it's like free real estate. So like this card can be used to essentially stop like activation of face-up monsters effects, and then a little icing on the cake is it's practically a crackdown, and then it's a plant monster, and then your deck has plant synergy, and you can practically just take their monster and use it for whatever you want.
Right, because let's say like once it becomes a plant, right? You play Rikka Sheet and you have a Snowdrop in hand, you can tribute it to get Snowdrop's effect.
That's nuts.
So anyways, on to the next couple cards. Some people play this at 2, but I opt to play at 1 because I already have a lot of control. Up to preference. So Primula is kind of like Erica, but in the hand. If a monster you control is tributed at all, it doesn't have to be a plant monster, just any monster tributed, so even Lonefire has synergy. You just special summon this card from your hand in defense position on resolution. The trigger effect. And also, you can target up to 2 plant monsters you control, increase their levels by 2 until the end of this turn. So this can become a level 6 if you want.
Okay.
Or you can make your level 6 until level 8.
I see, that's like, some utility. Okay.
And Rose Girl is the best recursion card for this deck. If a face-up plant monster you control is sent to the graveyard in any way, shape, or form, this has to be sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand.
Wow, and you know what?
Also
Wow. You know what also sends to the graveyard? link summoning, so you just get to specialist from your hand.
Right, it's just free. And it gets better. If a plant monster is on the field and this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand for free.
What?
The caveat is you can only use one of its effects per turn. So regardless, once you have this card in your hand, you're gonna keep using it forever for the rest of the duel.
It just kind of it cycles itself in and that. Wow. That's crazy good.
Because you can snowdrop. You can snowdrop, summon Rose Girl, blink off into or go off into Teardrop, use Teardrop's effect, and then on the same turn get the Rose Girl back into your hand, so you can use it again next turn.
Wow. I mean, I can't. There's no better word to describe it. Like, you know how many decks out there would kill to have a monster like Rose Girl to have like that reoccurring play?
And it's a tuner.
Oh, so you could do Needle Chief shenanigans if you wanted to.
Oh boy, I've seen some Needle Fiber builds. They're interesting, but I can't with the plant lock. It's just hard.
Oh yeah. All right, so I see 3 Lone Fire after that, and Lone Fire is kind of self-explanatory. Just
no, we don't have to explain that.
Yeah, beams out any plant you need.
All right. Arrow Mage, Laurel, and Angelica. These are the combo extenders, not really combo starters, but if your life points are higher than your opponent, you can special summon Laurel from your hand. And if you gain life points, this is a mandatory effect, by the way. Target one non-tuner plant monster on the field is treated as a tuner this turn. I don't really use the second effect, but the third effect is if this card is sent to the graveyard, gain 500 life points. Why is that good?
Well, because the time
So
rules,
why
I
is
guess.
good is Jasmine. Jasmine says, well, I'm going to go back to it afterwards when we get to the extra deck, but the third effect of Jasmine says that once per turn, if you gain life points, add one plant monster from your deck to your hand. So you would link summon with, let's say, Laurel and Evil Thorn, okay? Link summon to summon Jasmine, and when it hits the graveyard, after the link summon, this will trigger. You gain 500 life points, and you can immediately trigger Jasmine's effect to add any plant from your deck to your hand. So just for summoning Jasmine, you get the plus.
Wow.
And that's why I only play one.
It seems like this entire deck's almost just free.
Yeah, it's like plus energy. I mean, there's some cards that kill this deck. Like, let's say, like, if somebody D-shifters, that's really bad, but it's okay. Nobody's playing that right now.
Yeah, you're safe from that one.
4, self-explanatory. The one combo I'd like to point out with Spore, and just in case I had one person ask me this, is how do you make this card? I play no level 7s. Basically, if you have a level 6 in the graveyard, so Mudon, Erika, you can banish one of these two, summon your Spore back, and if you have Snowdrop on the field, you can target your Spore, and both of these become a level 7. So you can make Aurea, which is arguably the best plan.
And that's crazy. I remember Aurea I remember seeing that card around quite a bit. Because it's the,
Yeah, this is literally the Dragite.
Dang. Alright, yeah, we'll see. That's a pretty good play. I never knew plants had so many busted cards. I remember Alcé down there, from when I used to play Dark Lords. I would make a Alcé with my 2 level 8s and do so. That card's pretty good, I remember.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. You get to mill one for free and then pop off.
That's I can only imagine if you mill off the Rose Girl, or you know, you just it's free. That's just crazy, but
it's happened.
I believe. Oh man. So
Yeah.
then after Spore we have Evil Thorn, and Evil Thorn's the one to where like you tribute it, you inflict damage, and you special summon 2 more from the deck.
Yeah, and this has synergy. If you go first, you're gonna be at a higher life point deficit than your opponent. So if you activate Evil Thorn and you have Laurel in hand, you can special summon it afterwards because you have higher life points.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. See, I forget. Wow.
Yeah, it comes up rarely, but
It's
yeah, it
very.
works.
The deck seems so like it seems like everything just works together, or everything has ways to work together. So like all the Arrow Mage, you know, like it Jasmine says, you know, if you have higher life points, well, you have 2 cards in the deck that just for practically plants outside of the Arrow Mage card give you life points, or you know, take your opponent down to where you have that requirement. It seems that's
right,
just,
exactly.
wow, this is All right, yeah, keep going. I'm enjoying this. This is just crazy how like.
Angelica is funny, dude.
Oh my goodness.
So you play the one of, and during either player's turn, so quick effect, you discard this card, target a Roman monster in your graveyard, gain life points equal to that target's attack. So you can gain 800 or you can gain 1800 depending on your situation. That's the sole reason why I play two of these. So it can save you, possibly, and also it makes your life points higher than your opponent's. So if you want to proc certain effects, the only one you're proccing is going to be this, or even this, where you give all your monsters a 500 attack and defense buff. It can come in handy. But the second effect is nutty, okay? While your life points is higher than your opponent's and you control an Arrow Mage monster or an Aroma monster, so either this or this, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, then banish it when it leaves the field. And it's a tuner.
Again, just seems like everything's so like free.
Mm-hmm. And the best card in the deck, the best level 1 in the deck. I will fight anybody that says that there's a better level 1 plane out there. Rikka Petal, during the main phase, you can take one Rikka monster. I've never seen the word take on a Yu-Gi-Oh card before, but take one Rikka monster from your deck, accept itself, obviously, either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So it's either a Stratos or a Foolish Burial, but it locks you into plants.
Which is, you know, that's
then it
okay.
gets better. There's more. During your opponent's end phase, while this card is in your graveyard, and you control no monsters, or all monsters you control are only plant monsters, so 2 requirements, super easy to meet, because all of these are plants, barring a couple cards. You can special summon this card from the graveyard.
Wow, so it's a reoccurring Stratos every turn.
Yep. Every turn you keep plussing. And Crusadias need this, man. Crusadia Petal.
I don't just
needs that card.
I've always said like all we need is something that plays from the graveyard and we'll already be like in a better spot. But the fact that this is a reoccurring Stratos or Foolish that reoccurs every turn, that's just, it makes sense why like you get, you know, like you have like everything works together. So like you can send cards, you can add cards, and then you continually almost every turn will have link fodder to continually to link climb if you so choose to, or Synchro or XZ or. Wow.
Yeah, and there's with the extra deck, there's a lot of flexibility too in the terms of like the plants you can play. So it's almost kind of like a plant toolbox deck. That's the best way I can put it.
That's just wow. That's crazy.
On to the next card. 1-for-1, self-explanatory. I'm gonna skip that.
Yep.
We already talked about Neos Fusion. The Glamour, I've talked about this. Flurry's boss stage. Basically, the trap card lineup is going to be the 3 Imperms. I argue that Imperm is the best hand trap this format, simply because there's no real way to counter this card turn 0 unless you have a red reboot in hand. And again, you're going to pay half your life points for it. So yeah, you kind of have to pick your battles. You can't call by this card. Like, probably the best cards that could play around this card is Ego Booster and Crusadia Power.
Yeah.
And that's why I like Imperm a lot.
Well, also, let's not forget Forbidden Lance exists too. But I don't know who's playing Forbidden Lance, but yeah, I agree with you.
In 2020?
Yeah, in 2020. We might be able to start a new trend, but I 100% agree with you. It is the best hand trap this format, simply because it cannot be called by the grave. It just, and the fact that even like, you know, like if you draw into it, like I always hate drawing into like Ash or something after my opponent's gone off. You can still at least, you know, like pop down infinite impermanence and, you know, bait things or negate things. Whereas if you top deck any other hand trap going into like turn 2, you know, they're practically dead.
Right. This is the most flexible hand trap.
Yes,
I would argue.
Yeah, I would not argue against you with that. I agree with you fully. I think it's the best hand trap in this format. And I guess we know what Evenly's there for, to break the board.
Break boards. This deck doesn't really care about OTKing that much. Excuse me. It has the potential to OTK. Don't get me wrong here, but this deck is more control based. And it's simply because Petal can just recur every turn. Roller Scroll has recursion. Elbor has recursion. Erica has recursion. Boar has recursion. There's just so much recursion in this deck that this deck was almost... Konami made this deck to grind. That's the simplest way I can put it. So
That's,
evenly matched is great.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm picking up on. Like everything recurs itself in some way or some fashion. You can't put on a lot of damage output, but and then like even your boss monster, I mean, it attributes your opponent's monster, you know. So like it does seem like this deck is very well designed to be like a control-based strategy, just abusing the plant toolbox. And the fact that you've also added in with your own spicy tech of the generator boss stage and generate monsters, you get an additional form of grinding essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dang.
And last but not least, so one generator boss fight. I could take this out, but I like the ratio at 43 so far because I run, again, a lot of high-level cards. This is what, with 11 or 12 high-level cards, and just putting in more cards to make it less possible for me to draw into like Brick City helps a lot. And this is a free boss stage, if y'all don't know what this does. Basically, you simply activate a generator field spell from a deck or graveyard. So if stage is in your graveyard for whatever reason, you can just activate boss fight, which lets you activate boss stage, and then your opponent immediately draws a card. It gives your opponent a +1, but the reason why it does that is so you can proc off boss stage.
Yes, that is a spicy tech. I think you've incorporated into this. All the entire generator.
Yeah, shout out to my boy Pat.
Okay, that entire package is just something like I would never even think about. And then and something else is like I assume, like you said, every deck has its inconsistencies and stuff like that. So assuming you don't even open, that well, at least if you can get to boss stage, which of course you're technically playing 2 copies of it thanks to boss fight, you can get your engine rolling by either searching the Mardell, or if you need to hold the fort, you can use Har and just kind of attempt to hold off with Har.
Right, and the best part about Har is, believe it or not, Har is synergy with Petal. And why I say this is, yes, Har is a spellcaster, but it says when a card or effect is activated, you can tribute to generator and or spellcaster monsters. So you tribute, normally in a generator deck, you tribute the 2 tokens, right? Because the tokens don't do anything and they just leave anyways. But it itself is a generator monster, so you can tribute itself in a token, and during the end phase, all the tokens die. And since it's still the end phase, now you're left with only plant monsters, so you can summon Petal back.
Yeah, or no monsters at all, so Petal just can come back and get you a free search during your turn.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. See, that's really good. That's some interesting interactions that people who probably not played the deck as long as you have don't even probably know about that type of interaction. Like that's pretty. Most people will probably just keep the Har on the field because it's a big boy, but you or experienced Rikka players would know that if they're playing this package, like you can get your engine going by just tributing the Har itself.
Right. The only minus that I can see, and this has happened to me in tournament too, is you have to kind of gauge what deck your opponent's playing. If they're playing let's say combo heavy going first, you have to kind of assume they're playing Call by the Grave, and you can only play around that by tributing your tokens. That's the only flip side to it. So you have to understand your matchup.
Yes, I agree. Understand, that's something I've always tried to tell anybody. Like, you have to understand your deck, then you also have to practically understand almost every other deck out there. You have to have a general knowledge, and to understand how to combat their strategies and how your strategies work against them. So, and Call By is a universal card, but I'm thinking of something very. I think Call By is the only thing that could potentially stop Har from negating stuff, but since your entire strategy is a tribute, stuff like that, I feel like probably Call by the Grave is one of this deck's biggest weaknesses.
Right, and you kind of have to pick your battles with this Har too, because if they do play Call by on your Har, you don't assume they have a second one, so your Petal's gonna come back, but that's only assuming you live for that turn.
Yep, that is true. That's something that, does make sense. You got to kind of calculate those type of things.
Yeah, you have to kind of play like Yu-Gi-Oh! Like it's a game of chess, where you see your opponent's hand advantage, how many cards they have in their hand, and you just have to pick your battles, so to speak. It just comes with experience, to be honest.
And sometimes you're just not gonna win those battles. And then sometimes you'll win.
If you watch the vlog, the first duo I played against, I had the perfect board, the optimal board with the Har, and then the gates and the 2 traps, and my opponent had double evenly. I couldn't do anything with double evenly.
Yeah, when they got it, they got it. I mean, one of the biggest skills in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is being lucky, So sometimes it's real lucky to draw 2 evenlies. Like any other person would be like, man, that's bad, but then sometimes 2 evenlies is good.
Yeah, it just really depends. Anyways, onto the extra deck. So Queen of Thorns, my level 6, the only level 6 I play. I seldom summon this, but it could be really, really good in time.
Oh yeah, I just read the
Each
effect.
player, they have to pay 1,000 life points for each monster, normal or special summon from the hand. Every monster.
You could play that against me, and play in CRUSADE, and it's like, don't worry, I'll just have to kill myself in order to win.
Oh yeah, you summon like what? 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 cards in your hand, and then so you just summons another one.
Yeah, and then if you build up into equal max after that, you summon 2 more. So like, you do that the entire combo. I do believe like it's exactly 8,000 just to play the game.
Yep, and then burn. Right, and this card is a big blowout against a lot of decks. Especially like, let's say like I poke you for a lot, and I put you at, let's say, like 1,000 life points. You can't summon stuff from your hand without losing.
It's kind of like reminds me of Red Eye's Metal Flare, in the sense those decks that can make it. You smack down a Metal Flare once you've poked for a substantial amount of damage, and this is essentially just a plant Metal Flare, but it burns for more.
Yep, burns for more, except it's not as flexible. If it just said any monster summon, that would be broken.
Yes, yes.
That's broken. Imagine playing against Salad, and then they do their whole combo, and then they like die for it.
That would be funny. I think you just summon this and just tell them play better have in-perm, essentially. Better have in-perm or I win, or you don't play.
Right. Next card is gonna be Rosemary. Rosemary is the 500 buff. All plant monsters you control get 500 attack and defense if your life points are higher. And then once per turn, if you gain life points, it specifies either player's turn. Target a face-up card, not monster, face-up card your opponent controls. That face-up card has its effects negated until the end of this turn. So if you have Angelica in your hand, you almost have like an effect dealer.
Oh yeah, because Angelica's a quick effect, huh? Wow. That's pretty cool.
I seldom use it, but it comes up. It comes up.
Well, see, like when I look at decks, I think I try to like figure out like what is the best turn 1 board and the best going second board I can do, and like immediately right now I can already see like you can almost have like something crazy. I don't know how optimal it would be, but you can practically have the rank 8 Rikka plus this with like the other one in hand, so you have an effect veiler, a monster that tributes, the trap card, like that's just crazy.
Yeah, and then I'll put it all together, then I slap on a generator boss stage for game.
Yeah. Just when you thought it couldn't get worse, a Har comes down just to say hi. That's
okay.
Wow.
So True King of all calamities. I actually beat an Altergeist player playing True King because he kept spamming Melu Seek, and that card is so annoying.
Oh yeah,
so it's called Water. So what actually happened in that matchup, I'm just gonna give an example, is I Tranquility during his turn, and Altergeist kind of have problems getting over big cards such as Mondale. 2600 defense and 2400 defense is kind of high for that deck. Yeah, so they kind of have to Mellow Seek everything. He chose to get rid of my Jasmine instead of either more Mardell or Snowdrop. So next turn, all I did was activate a Snowdrop second effect, copy Mardell's number, and then go into True King. And if you have a 1-for-1 in hand, let me see. I believe you can make this turn 1. I'm just trying to think if you can. Never mind. No, you can't.
But
you can't make this turn 1. Just the way.
Oh yeah, because I was about to say, well, yeah, you can. Your yellow Rikka up there, since I can't remember names. Essentially, you just gotta open Mardell, summon Snowdrop, or summon any plant, tribute it, summon Snowdrop and Mardell, and then you have an instant 9. But I'm sure that locks you into plants.
Yeah, if you can use the first effect. The second effect, the copy, doesn't lock you into plants. So,
so
the only real way you can do this turn 1, I tried this for a bit but I didn't like it, is if you play copy plant. Basically, 1-for-1, one of your cards go into copy plant, and if you open Lonefire Blossom, summon Lonefire tribute to summon Mardell, copy plant, copy Mardell's level, and then go into True King.
Okay, well, I mean, that's still interesting nonetheless. I mean, I guess, if people want to, that option is there. So this deck can make Calamity's first turn. It just, you have to play,
trust me, if copy... If 1-for-1 is at 2, I would play Copy Plant.
I think it's going to stay at 1 for a while, but we can always hope.
I personally think it's gonna stay at 1 too. Like, imagine how good Spiral will be.
That is, yeah. Okay, so then after True King, we have the Teardrop, which is your quick effect tribute, correct?
Yep, and also has a mandatory effect that's always going to be Chain Link 1 unless there's another mandatory effect. Every time any monster is tributed, gain 200 attack.
And how it's 20. So immediately, as soon as you tribute one monster, it's a 3,000 attack, 2,800 defense. Beats Dang.
Yep, and
That's
if you
good.
have with Erica in hand, since it tributes itself, this would both trigger. Well, this would trigger Chain Link 1 and then Erica would trigger. Or I think it's on Resolution this would trigger. You're going to have a 4,000 defense monster. I mean, a 4,000 attack monster to deal with if you have Erica.
Wow. Like, I didn't, yeah, so you essentially, by using your in-decked Honest, you get to gain a free, essentially 1,200 attack, correct?
Yep.
Wow.
And it becomes a 4,000 beater.
That is crazy.
And then here's Ding for problematic cards. I've won games with Ding before. I played against Chain Link. I know you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
And I won one of the games with him in a tournament that we were in using Dingirsu. He had the Tenyi Sasara on board, and since I couldn't target anything, I just got rid of it with Dingirsu.
So for all sense of puns and stuff, you 10 yeeted his card with Ding, huh?
I 10 yeeted his card.
10 yeeted.
It was the optimal. It was the optimal play.
Oh goodness, yeah, Ding is such a, and that's crazy, and that's a good, like I already said, like you said, like the deck puts, like, you know, puts out some level 8s, and it's just essentially Ding is a good follow up for like that turn 3 sort of build up. So then you just smack Ding, send something, and then just simply, you know, tribute something with the Teardrop, or, you know, like just kind of poke for damage after that.
Right. Exactly. It's just a good card. There's still a lot of problematic cards that can't be targeted for whatever reason. I feel like Konami's kind of like shifting to the point where they make all these new boss monsters that get continuously stronger and stronger and stronger. And every previous boss monster just gets power crept to crazy. Like crazy. So Dingirsu is the answer.
Yeah, and that just, you know, it just sends problematic cards. And then even if you can't send it, the fact that it allows you to protect stuff is actually pretty good too.
Oh yeah. And the next card is Alsay. The mill one, then target one card your opponent controls. Put it either at the top or the bottom. Basically, you would evenly match your opponent, and then with their one card remaining, just put it back to the top of the deck or the bottom of the deck, depending on how much of a threat it is, and then they lose.
Yes, I think that was, like I said, the last time I played this card, I played it way back in, like, when ABC was good and, like, Dark Lords at first came out, and I think that's right when I got my very first invite with Dark Lords, and this guy was, like, always my go-to to, like, shuffle something back. And people underestimate this. I bet you people don't even know this now, but this guy has a 3,200 booty. Like, if they're not even, like, you kind of just overlook it.
Dude, it's thick.
Yeah, so you plop him down and you shuffle something back. Probably, like, you know, they're one card or a card that they're going to draw into. And then if they have no way to out this guy, like by effects or anything, they have to battle. There's not a lot of things in the game that can get over a 32 booty. So then if this thing stays around again, you're just going to do it again.
Right, and it's just problematic too, because once your opponent sees what this card does, they have to get rid of it somehow. So it slows down their plays. They have to use more resources. It's just an all-around good card.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, since this deck grinds a lot, it seems like when you do this mid to late game, and you're playing against a deck that, you know, that cannot keep up with your grind, I'll say it's just it's kind of like the final nail in the coffin. You know, it's just like you're gonna be now. It's like you need to draw your resources, but as long as I have Alsay out there, you're just gonna keep drawing the same card over and over and over for the next 2 turns at least.
Right. On the I think vlog number 3 that I did 2 weeks ago, I played against a Dino player, and I basically used up all his resources, and all he had left was a Lost Word on the field, and I just kept putting it back to the top of the deck, and he lost.
That's some of the small joys of Yu-Gi-Oh. That's not so joyful for your opponent, but deep inside we're laughing at it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Next is Aurea. So Aurea is very interesting. It gets better the more you read it. So once per turn, you can send a plant monster from your hand or face up on your side of the field to the graveyard. So just that has happened before. You ricochet one of your opponent's monsters and then you just send it to the graveyard afterwards with Aurea. It does happen. Look at the number of cards from your top of your deck equal to the level of the sent monster had in the hand or on the field. Then place them at the top of your deck in any order. So you get to fix the top cards of your deck. 1. And secondly, you can detach one material from this card. Call a number from 1 to 3. Excavate that many cards from the top of your deck. Send that many excavated plant type monsters to the graveyard. And if you do, return up to that many cards from the field back to the hand. Does not target, by the way. Also, place the other cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. Sojo Guide.
So with Aurea here, as long as you have the Rikka sheet, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a play you can make with it. You can just use any plant from your hand instead. Just depends on the situation.
That's just... So, I mean, really when you stop and look at it, like, you have the ability to use... I'll say to, you know, make your opponent draw a card. Then you have this guy, or this girl, or this bird that just swoops in and just kind of can bounce almost non-targeting, bounce all these cards back to the hand to clear away for damage.
Yep, so Dark Ruler no more and Aurea is pretty good.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's 2-card combo.
Kanzashi. So we're getting more Rikka support in the future, so I'm going to be summoning this a lot more, but basically, if any monster is tributed, except during the damage step, any monster tributed, so including Erica, Hellbore, etc., detach one material from this card, target a monster from either player's graveyard, special summon it. So it's a monster reborn. But negate its effects.
So I guess this
also becomes a plant.
This is an interesting question. Some of them tribute for cost, correct?
Correct.
So is there any sort of like kind of chinky play you can do by summoning something back, then using its effect to tribute for cost? Well, yeah, because then you can still proc some of the cards that have effects of when the cards are tributed, right?
Right. So let's say like you can Kanzashi, you summon Kanzashi, then tribute something off of let's say you had another plant and you tributed to summon Mudon, right? You can use Kanzashi's effect. With Mudon, grab whatever you want. Use Kanzashi, grab, let's say, an opponent's monster in the graveyard, or even one of your own monsters in the graveyard. Then since it becomes a plant, regardless of what type it originally was, you can tribute it off of Glamour to get a plus.
Wow, okay. That's crazy. And this card comes out when? The next set?
We already have this card, but there's another card that's coming out that I don't have yet.
Oh, okay.
In Rise of the Duelist, that's gonna make this card bust.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it then.
And also, it's also a Dingirsi for the deck. You can tribute a plant monster from your hand or your field, and it would just protect your plant monsters.
Okay, well, I mean that's still pretty good.
Yep, and also by battle or card effect. So it's just pretty good. And also, it says nothing that there's nothing on it that says you can't summon the monsters in attack mode. So if this is the quickest way you can OTK your opponent. Kanzashi, let's say, grab like even like a heart from your graveyard and just summon it and just swing with both.
Just practically grab a heart and bring it back. That's actually quite interesting, because it seems like from watching your vlog and stuff like that, you very consistently get into that boss stage kind of setup thing. So that's clearly, I mean, that's something that can
super
frequently
easy.
Yeah, the ability to bring back the heart and just smack for. So this is heart's 4,000. This is so 64 altogether. It's pretty
no, 3,000.
Oh, 3,000. So
yeah,
54. Okay, so 54 altogether. Just with those two monsters, not even including if you can put on another one for that turn 3 kind of push, is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly. And this next card is gonna blow your mind. Okay.
I'm
pretty sure your mind's already blown, Charles.
I recognize the artwork of it, but I can't remember the effect.
You can detach 2 material from this card. Return all other cards from the field to the hand. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation.
So the first thing I could see is like detach 2 material from this card, and I could see it saying target 2 cards on the field and destroy them. But detach 2 and you get to bounce all cards, and they can't respond to it? this card seems like Dark
Yeah,
Ruler
they
plus
have
this
to-
card seems to be the way to go.
Broken. Like, they have to Valor. They have to imperm this card. They don't have either of those cards, they will die.
Wow. And like I have to sound like Owen Wilson and go, wow. There's no other word to describe this guy. And I assume
Yeah, like,
something...
I read this card and I'm like, why is this card $1?
I'm just kind of like, I'm lost for words that a card like this kind of exists. And it says 3 level 6 monsters. So like, it's not even restricted to just plants. This card just exists out there. If any deck can put 3 level 6s, it can make this card.
Yeah,
Dang.
you can literally summon Snowdrop with another level 6 if you have another plant on the field, which is super easy for this deck. Then you just make Ingura and close out games. I've closed out a lot of games with this card.
Like, dang, like, yeah. Activate Dark Ruler no more. Normal summon any plant. Tribute for Snowdrop. Bounce, return everything with the Fairy Knight. Wow.
Yep.
And there's
great.
not a dang thing they can do
And
about
with-
it. Except for Valor.
Nope, not at all. Valor and Perm, they have to do on summon though.
Oh my goodness. Ugh. But, oh, so the next card after this card, I recognize this card. That's the next card from Spiral Days, early Spiral Days, is Princess Sprite. Just lets you draw a card, right? Is there any other utility outside of the draw?
Well, it only draws if you draw into a spell or trap. Does it excavate the top if the spell or trap goes to your hand? If not, go to the graveyard. So regardless, it's good because you want your Spore, your Angelica, and also your Laurel to the graveyard as well. So it's fine. If it's a spell or trap, goes to your hand, so +1. But the second utility is you already summoned a Sylvan monster. Well, you summoned it successfully. Then you can send another monster from your hand or face up from your field to the graveyard. Target a Sylvan monster in your graveyard, special summon it.
So it can bring back the Array or Alcay just for kind of free.
Yep, and then you just close out games.
And you can make this guy, you can make the princess quite consistently if you have, what's the, Petal, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Petal, Evil Thorn, Angelica, any of these can make it, actually.
Wow. Like I said, like, the way
With
you
this
described it,
card.
sounds like it's a perfect, like, plant toolbox that kind of all comes together.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
It gets better. This is the icing on the cake, okay?
Alright, and Jasmine.
So if your life points is higher than your opponent, this card and any plant monster it points to cannot be destroyed by battle. A lot of people do not read this card, and they just attack into my cards thinking they can kill it, but they can't.
They got swindled.
Secondly, yeah. Secondly, you contribute any one monster this card points to. Special summon one plant monster from your deck in defense. So Lone Fire.
Or any card, really. That's quite... It tutors out anything you need. Because it's no restriction on level, right?
Yep. Nope. The only thing is it has to be in defense. So most of the time I go Lone Fire and then go into something else so I can attack with it. But completely up to you.
That is... Yeah, this card is pretty good because we already talked about the... So it allows you to... It's a Rhoda. It's practically a tour guide.
Mhm.
And then it has like a weird, like... Well, I wouldn't say weird, but like a Nightmare Phoenix-esque effect that just says, you know, plant monsters can't be... What this card points to can't be destroyed by battle.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy. Like, this card is probably the most underrated card in the deck. That's why I run to. And it has good synergy with Nibiru. Because if you summon this in the middle spot, you can use Jasmine, then tribute your Nibiru because it's not a plant, and then just get any other plant you want.
Like I said the multiple times in this video, it's free real estate.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
The extra deck is, the side deck is nothing really fancy, so I'm gonna gloss over it really fast. But unless Charles, you have any
No,
any questions
the
about
only
the side
the
deck,
only
honestly?
thing I have is just to comment on the Mystic Mines. But I do get the...
Yeah, as much as people hate this card, good.
Oh, I was just like, you know, I get the strategy behind it. It allows, you know, like you plop it down going second. It allows you to get your engine rolling. and then you practically can turn it off at any moment with boss stage. So I do get it. Doesn't mean I don't hate it any less.
Yeah, I know I seem like a villain for playing this. I also play this in my Crusader Guard Dragons. You're gonna crucify me for this, but it's just a good card.
It is.
As much as I hate it being played against me, it's just good.
If I no, like I agree with you completely. Like even if play it in the Crusade, because like essentially you activate it and you practically kind of shut down. Like it makes your opponent answer that card, and then you can kind of just, if they don't answer it, I mean, they kind of they have to do something, otherwise they can't do anything, and then you just get to play for free until you have to monitor and watch your own type of like summonings and stuff like that, so when like this card will be shut off. But I do get it, and I wouldn't say you're a villain. I'd say it's a necessary evil.
So what's really neat about Mystic Mind is, let's say you don't have boss stage, right? There's another way you can turn it off. If they have a full board and you happen to break the board, break the board using Mystic Mind, you can afterwards summon Ingunar and then bounce all cards on the field to the hand besides itself. So you can bounce your Mystic Mind back to the hand and then reuse it if you need it.
That is, again, it's like, I mean, I completely see it now that you brought it up that way. It works very similar to Dark Ruler No More. You smack either one of these down, and then you just blow out their board with either Dark Ruler or Aurea. Okay, yeah, all right.
Exactly. And this just a little bit sneak peek. I haven't talked about this card on my channel yet, but I'm going to talk about it on your channel if that's fine.
Oh, that's perfect.
For this deck. Sneak peek. The newest card that we're getting in Rise of the Duelists, and oh my god, it's almost August.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close.
Stranae.
Yeah.
2 level 4. This card will single-handedly change completely how this deck is run. You can detach one material from this card. Target a plant monster or Rikka card in your graveyard. So any of these, or any plant monster in your graveyard, then add it to your hand. There's more. If this card is tributed while it controls a material, you can special summon any rank 5 or higher plant exceed monster from your extra deck or graveyard. Then you can attach this card to it as material. So she becomes your personal toolbox for any of the plants.
So does she get to detach one? This card is tributed. Okay. All right. For a second, I almost had a mini stroke because I think I heard you wrong. I thought you were able to practically just smack on any plant XYZ on top of her, and it says rank 5 or higher. So I was like, oh my god, you can essentially just smack on the Fairy King on this and then detach the 2 material and blow a board up. But I read it properly. That's still crazy. That's still crazy because you essentially can smack on like the teardrop? No, the rank 8.
Yep.
Teardrop, right?
Yep. You can teardrop. You can Ulse. You can Aurea. You can Kanzashi. You do any of that.
It just gives you easier, instead of like having to configure levels. It just seems like it gives you more easier direct access to your plant XYZ toolbox.
And it's also a +1 because when you summon it, you can add 1 card back to your hand. So you can add this girl back to the hand.
That is.
And in which case, you would just play less of her because it's less bricky.
That is remarkable. Wow.
And there's one other level 4 that I don't play. I currently don't play in this build because we don't have her yet, and it's gonna be Cyclamen. So she is pretty good. You can just tribute it from your hand or face up on the field, then target 2 or up to 2 plant monsters you control. Reduce their levels by 2 until the end of the turn, so you can target her and make her level 4. And during the end phase, if it's in the graveyard because it's been tributed and sent to this turn, you can special summon it back. So you can use it as fodder for Rikka Sheet or Rikka Tranquility.
That is dang. Wow. Well. And when does this?
It's good.
Yeah, I'm kind of blown away. Not gonna lie, of how like really good this deck seems. And like you said earlier, it seems like it's just a plant toolbox, but everything seems to work like a clock. Every gear turns and moves the other gear, so it's like And it's all because they're plant. And you have access to powerful monsters.
For a long time now. Right. Oh, what was that?
Sorry. No, go ahead.
And for a long time now, Konami has given us a lot of plant support. But I think Rikkas are going to take it to the next level. We're getting more and more plant support as well, but it's always very generic. It's nothing like game-breaking like Adamantipator, but we're getting like our own field spell for plants specifically, which is really neat. So I just hope that Konami keeps making more plant support, and eventually if you mix the right amount of engines together, you can break plants. I'm 100% sure of it.
Now, this was probably before my time playing, but wasn't there like a plant synchro back in the day? And they actually did break plants. It was like a synchro variant of plants.
Yeah, I think it was Tengu that broke plants. Reborn Tengu.
Dang. So yeah, like you said, and all you got to do is just practically sit down with the deck, and when we get the new support, and just go at it. And like this deck, this seems like to me like it has like tons of potential. Like out of the three. Because Rikkas came out with Adamancer and Eldritch. It just seems like this deck was just super overshadowed by both of them, and it very well seems like this deck can compete with them. Like it seems like it has access to all the right cards that could potentially blow out and or keep an Emancipator or Eldritch from building their boards, or it can break their boards.
Yep, it just all depends on how you play, your main board and sideboard. Obviously, I really hope there's not going to release a card that's stronger than Imperm. Like, please, Konami, please do not release a card that's stronger than this card. Because I'm going to be very upset. Because you're going to have to run 6 of those in every deck.
Yeah, I agree completely. Imperm needs to be the pinnacle of hand traps. I think that now everything else and they kind of been doing that. I mean, they released a new Ghost Girl, and that Ghost Girl is like a weaker Imperm. But it's still, it has its uses. It's still an extra copy of Imperm Invader that you can play in the deck. But yeah, Konami, right. if you watch our videos, do not make any card better than Imperm. Let this be the pinnacle.
Please, there's so many times where I was playing at the regional. I remember I was interviewing some people, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm playing rockets, like budget rockets, and I never got ashed." And then I just cry because I'm playing Crusader Guard Dragons, and I feel like every time I play anything, they always have either Imperm or Ash. At least that's what it feels like.
I agree. That's kind of like I've just kind of started playing almost any deck I play now. I just kind of go at them. Like I mentally prepare myself. Like they already have these cards, so I already need to be ready for mentally prepare myself for that Imperm on your key combo piece, or the Ash on the LP, or the Boulder on your 5th summon.
Right, and what I like a lot about this deck is that it doesn't really lose to hard lose to any hand trap besides what is it? I guess Sanctum, but my guys have a pretty big booty anyway, so
you can definitely wall up against cards like that, like Sanctum. I get Sanctum on any of my decks really that I play, like my Fire Fist or my Crusadian, and it's practically all right. Well, let's hope you don't have enough cards to blow me out in the next turn.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I just like this deck a lot, because bottom line is it's flexible. Every time I play this deck at locals or at a big event, I mean, we're not going to have any anytime soon, but anytime I've played this deck, even in an online tournament, there's always been new situations where I'm looking at this hand and I'm like, I can make a really nasty board, and I've never made this board before.
So I guess final question for the video before we end it. You are playing...
Sure.
Evenly matched. So do you want to go first or second with this deck? Because Evenly is the only powerful going second card I see that you're playing. Mm-hmm. So is it do you opt to go first, or do you opt to go second with your current list?
So this is what I do, and this answer is gonna vary depending on the Rikka player. I tend to like to go second because I like knowledge. As in, I like to see what my opponent's playing. If I'm going second and then make let's say a Galaxy board and I can't break it, then I've learned not to go second again. I mean, so But because I don't want evenly or imperm dead in my hand, I tend to want to go second. But if I know they're playing a pure, let's say, like, I'm going first, I'm gonna make a really dank board, and I'm not playing any hand traps because I want to go first, then I will go first. This deck has the capability to do so. But I personally just like going second because I like to see what my opponent's playing, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense, actually. I do agree. Knowledge is power. So like, if you opt to go second, you still like if you watch them play and they make an unbreakable board, you wrap it up and you just go into the next game. So your side deck is gonna be way better than theirs because you didn't show them what you're playing. So I get what you're saying. It's kind of up to player preference on what they want to do, and playing cards like infinite impermanence, or not infinite impermanence, and yeah, and evenly match allow you to have that flexibility. And if you need to go first, or if you need to go second, or the opponent makes you go first, unless you open like all three evenlies, I mean that's awful. But if no matter which way you're going, if you open all three evenlies, I don't think you're looking to win the game. But if
I open 3 evenlies and I open a pedal, I'm good.
We got this. We're going places. But all right, my man. Well, thank you for sharing this video. If you guys want to, down in the link down in the description down below, I'll have Akami's channel linked. So please hop on over and check him out. Is there anything else you'd like to say, my man, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for having me on the channel. I just wanted to thank you again, like, go over the chat, because probably without your Crusadia videos, I would have never gotten back into Yu-Gi-Oh in the first place. And if I didn't get back into Yu-Gi-Oh, I would have never discovered, Crusadias or even this deck.
That's
And I just want to thank you again for contributing to that.
Oh man, you're breaking my heart. Gonna make me get all emotional. You are certainly welcome. I'm glad something that I did could bring you into this, because I think you are a good upcoming YouTuber that needs to get noticed and that needs to get more likes and subs.
Yeah, and also make sure you buy or get your Crusadia merch. I know you're selling t-shirts and you're selling the dank field centers. Make sure you get them while they're still on sale.
Yes, 100%. I'll have a link down in the description below to my merch. Please hop down there and check it out. Get yourself your custom, or not, I wouldn't say your custom, your apparel, and the 3D printed Akemitcg Field Center. So again, huge thank you to Akemitcg for showing us his Rikka profile. This is Team COG and Akami signing out.